What's up, Breakfast Club? It has been a long time. I feel as though the Breakfast Club tributary, if you will, has been drying up of late. I don't know whether that's because of people's schedules or what's going on, and I could be wrong about that. But believe it or not, for all our ideological differences, I really like what the Breakfast Club does. I'd love to see it grow, to be honest with you. I'd love to see it do some really cool things. It'd be great if we could do like a Google Hangout chat or something like that, where we got a bunch of different perspectives and we talk on a topic, or anything even in that stratosphere would be cool. If the mission statement really is to cross-pollinate by way of ideas, I think stuff like that would go a long way. I would personally enjoy it and try to make room in my schedule for it. Nonetheless, it's been a long time, so I have no idea whether Paul is going to green light this video or not. For those of you who dislike the fact that he allows an evil conservative/libertarian like myself to diatribe or soapbox in any way on this precious terrain, I know you're the minority, but for those of you out there, I will tell you that Paul does have what I consider to be a fair, intellectually honest standard of vetting. So you should just know that exists. Sometimes I get the axe trying to build up his credibility in your minds, for those of you who are not so happy with him. All right, to the meat of the subject. Let's do what everybody loves to do, which is talk about race. Let's talk about race.
I'm sick of this race and divide. It's always divide and conquer. It's a scam.
Let's actually have a conversation about race. And I know I'm late to the dance on the commentary. The involvement of Kanye West recently, you can laugh it off, and I know the left wants to do that. That's a tactic. You can slander him. You can dismiss him. This particular instance, that's not going to work. And so what I think we should do is talk about some of this stuff, regardless of how you feel about Kanye West, regardless of whether you think he's sincere, regardless of any of that. There's a whole panacea of views on that. But I think Kanye West's actions, and I mean this when I say this, this is not an earthquake. This is a continent shift in ideas and ideology. And many of you guys don't know this, but I used to work for a time at a black television station. And that was, first of all, that was a lot of fun, but that was an interesting experience. And so issues like this have been on my radar in like a very real way, but also I've had a unique opportunity as a pasty white, pale-skinned cracker to discuss race in some areas that a lot of people don't, and I feel like I'm benefited by that, and I've really enjoyed that experience. I was also in the Air Force for a number of years and went to war, and a lot of my brethren in arms were from various ethnicities. In fact, my flight in boot camp had everything under. We were like a reading rainbow of melanin in the skin from all over the world, which I think is super cool, by the way. Colleges is not where you get interesting race relations. You get that in the military. I went to college too, and all the races did was divide. Hardly ever talked to each other. It was very heartbreaking. But in the military, you know, you have a unifying goal, and you actually have candid conversations. You have the time to have these conversations. Tons of real organic conversations and pointed questions and genuine curiosity about the answer. And of course, that's the recipe of an interesting conversation on race. Recipe for an interesting conversation, period. So what I've known for a long, long time in the ideological sphere, and we'll use terms like left, right, although it's very, very frustrating to have to use those, especially since those terms are dissipating, but they're still how people understand the world we live in. I've understood for a long time, at least my adult life, that for whatever reason, the left has a fear of ideas. They do. Well, if you're a leftist, you don't like me saying that, because I don't think you see yourself like that. I've come to realize this because I've had the life experience and of sharing the company with a lot of people who disagree with me ideologically. I don't think the leftist sees their ideology as fearing ideas, but you're wrong. You do fear ideas. It's very, very unlikely, not impossible, but very, very unlikely for a conservative to moralize ideas as quickly as a leftist does. So for a liberal or a leftist, those really aren't ideas. Those are just the right things to do as a good person. That's just the right way to see the world, leftism. It's not an alternative way to see the world. It just is the way to see the world. And anybody who thinks differently isn't thinking differently to a leftist. They're an evil person. They're a bad person. There are any number of things, and we can go on and on about this. This is clearly laid out for any viewer on the internets nowadays. The laundry list of leftist lexicon, racist, homophobe, everything you can think of, right? You are those things to a leftist mind. So ideas, there's not as much value to them. They're established. You even hear this kind of language. Everything from environmental issues to social issues to the way we're supposed to see the world, the way we're supposed to see each other, the way we're supposed to see education, everything you can think of. It's just established to them. They speak like that. The debate is over. We no longer have to explore this idea. Like, that's just not in any area of life. That's not the way you should look at anything, including the things that I even think are established, right? I still shouldn't have that attitude towards intellectual discourse. I think it's insane on an intellectual level that there are still people who chase down the economic model of socialism and literally do it as Venezuela burns and starves. But people do. You talk to them, they have ideas. They have ideas about disseminating income. They have ideas about allocating resources. They think that the true model of socialism has not yet been implemented, that the past attempts have been flawed, and that there's still hope on the horizon. They believe that. I think that a cake is set. I think that debate fell when the Soviet Union fell. I mean, I just think that the economic model is ridiculous. China sees exponential growth after they inherit capitalist ideas. I mean, this stuff isn't even debatable in my mind. Yet, I don't think it's an appropriate way to go about intellectually dealing with the world, and certainly intellectually dealing with people that differ from me, by being like, the debate is over. The debate is over. You hear that constantly from the left. And you really, really, really hear that and feel that and get that sense about everything with race. Everything with race is just, this is the way it is. We've heard this forever. Donald Trump, grandiose Donald Trump fashion, is just dropping, figurative bombs on all the establishment thinking, all the establishment ways of what you can discuss, what you can't discuss, who you can talk to on an international level. And in many ways, Kanye West is doing that again in this realm. Now, I know all the arguments, right? Kanye is a promotion artist. He is doing what he's doing simply because he's got a record coming out. I think that is small thinking, and I think that's dismissive thinking. Although, like in most things in life, many things can be true at the same time. In the back of Kanye's mind, is there an element of, this is going to really ping the radar, I'm going to get a ton of attention, and that's going to move units of my art? Yes, I think that's just true of anybody. I think anybody's trying to get attention. Anybody's kind of making a splash. But I don't think that's not a watertight, sealed, okay, we've dealt with the issue, which you're seeing many commentators try to do. No, I think this guy has genuinely had a sea change in his thinking. I think he's started to, and if you follow him on Twitter, he's tweeting out, for example, I love Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is one of my intellectual heroes. I've read him cover to cover, had a huge impact on my life as a very young man. As a very young man, I read him. And Kanye just discovered Thomas Sowell. Now, I've been saying it my entire adult life, if you discover Thomas Sowell, if you read him with any open-mindedness, you will no longer be a leftist. That's how brilliant the man is. I'll go further than that. Thomas Sowell is the smartest and most groundbreaking economic mind, but probably even like socio-philosopher of our lifetime, in my opinion. And the man has black skin. Now, if he was not a leftist, because that's all Thomas Sowell is, he's just not a leftist. If he was a leftist, he would be a household name. But because he differs from the orthodoxy, and they fear ideas, they fear independent thought, and they definitely do. Thomas Sowell is ignored, and when he can't be ignored, he's maligned, and when he can't be maligned, he's libeled, and when he can't be libeled, he's slandered, and when he can't be slandered, he's just outright lied about. And that's just the way they handle it. They handle these black intellectuals that think differently. That cannot happen. There's a lot of reasons for that. Most notably, the Democratic Party's pulling like 95% of the black vote, 93%, I don't remember what it was. 20% of that gets chipped away, Democratic Party's done. Done. Electorally. Done. So, yes, I mean, it's all power, like most things are. It's all power. But it's evil what's been done. To think that people have to be drones of the mind because they have skin color is outright preposterous. It's idiotic. It's stupid, and it's racist. And the people that are discovering that, like I listen to the people that are coming back at Kanye, and it's a whole bunch of, you're letting people down, man. We believed in you. And nobody engages what he's saying. Nobody does. You know, man, how are you empowering white supremacy? I mean, the guy's not empowering white supremacy at all. This is all just malign, slander, shoot the messenger so you don't hear the message. It's classic stuff. It's ideas they fear. I read a poll that said, since Kanye's statements, Trump has doubled in black support. Now that's threatening some very, very powerful people. Now this video is not to convince you that my opinions on all these issues are right. My intention for this video is to point out a very obvious thing. The left fears ideas, the left fears free thinking, and that has just been thoroughly established of late. If you had any doubt, of course I didn't have any doubt even before this issue, but I think even people that were on the fence, I mean, it's just on parade for you to see. They do not like free thinking, they do not like ideas, and that is a plague. That is the Black Death of our future. It is. It is. There is nothing that says because you have a certain upbringing, or because you have a certain skin color, or because you have a certain appearance, you are loyal to thoughts. That is preposterous. That is a preposterous notion. And when you strip away all the slander, all the hype, all the circling the wagons, all the damage control, that's what you get. You get this man's being attacked because he threatens an orthodoxy, which manifests power. That's what is happening. Plain and simple. Now, let's talk a little bit more details just for a couple minutes here at the end of the video. It has been a mind-bending truth that I've had to deal with in my adult life, that realities, even realities right in front of your nose, do not change thinking often. Thinking, the way we see the world and our particular opinions on things, and this is something that applies to everybody, right, left, middle, everybody. Those things are almost like in our DNA, it almost seems like. You can lay before somebody what you think is an amazing argument, and it moves the needle nada. And that's such a complicated subject matter that's for a different video. But nothing has frustrated me in that realm like the black community's loyalty to the Democrat Party. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me how you would be able to twist and manipulate history, twist and manipulate reality, twist and manipulate results so successfully. I mean, it's truly something to be studied. I would be surprised if historians do not study it by way of some form of Stockholm syndrome or some form of like mental hypnosis. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. This is a genuine curiosity of mine that I have engaged my whole life. I'm very, very bold in conversation, so it would be nothing for me to walk right up to a group of African Americans on a street corner that don't look anything like me and mix it up. I've been known to do that, and I've found that to be a very fruitful way to live one's life. Sometimes dangerous, but often fruitful, especially intellectually. And when you start talking to people, you realize that a lot of the things that they say, they have not thought through. Now, that's true of everybody. You walk up to a bunch of trailer park guys smoking marbles and drinking natty lights and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, jobless and futureless. And they're just going to start rolling platitudes off the tongue like a pull string doll. I mean, that's just the way life is. I've experienced it all over the place. But I have never experienced like hypnosis, ideological hypnosis, like the black community and their loyalty to Democrats, and particularly Democrat ideas. Think about it, guys. Democrats completely control the education system, which has utterly failed the African American community, and that should not even be debatable, although I'm sure it is. I mean, goodness gracious. You compile on a quick Google search the schools that suffer. The education system is built on essentially property taxes. And so if you live in a socioeconomic area that's hurting, you're going to get basically no money for your school district. Now that's an unbelievably stupid idea to run education. But do you know who runs education? Top to bottom, every single power player, Democrat, every single one, no exceptions. Betsy DeVos is now the education secretary under Trump. And I've never seen somebody slandered more except for Trump. That's because she thinks differently about this orthodoxy. Whether you like her or not, that's the only reason she's slandered. She believes in choice. What a notion. What a notion that you should empower the individual. I know, racist if I've ever heard one. Nonetheless, school choice has been lingering out there. Charter schools have been kicking butt and taking names for years. And the Democrats are just utterly against them. Why? Power, not people, not poverty, power. And the black vote doesn't realize this or doesn't put this together. Baffling. Baffling. You look at the economic situations in a lot of these neighborhoods. Just abysmal. You know, you'll walk down, you know, I live about 20 minutes from a very economically defeated area. Predominantly, it is inhabited by minorities. Predominantly inhabited by African Americans. Hardly any industry there. No investment at all. If you just walk down the street, you know, you're likely to see things that are not uplifting, not encouraging, not inspiring you, not propelling you onward. I mean, everywhere you turn the eye, it's just things dilapidated, busted up, burnt out. If there's business, it's most of the time fostering behaviors that most people would not want their children to be doing, like, you know, drinking or vaping or smoking or, you know, eating Twinkies at a makeshift corner store that isn't even run by anybody in the community, but rather somebody that helicopters themselves into the community. I mean, it's just awful. And anybody saying anything differently is lying. It's just lying and not being intellectually honest, which, by the way, does not equal sign love or care. You care about something, you say the truth. You care about something, you engage in the actual issue. You don't create an alternative reality, live there for your own, like, giggles and feels. That's not love, that's not care, that's selfishness. And that's what you get. By the way, every one of these communities, all the elected officials, Democrats, every single one. Look, you've heard all these things before, right? You can go down the list. Screaming that fictional white supremacists are lurking around every corner, which is just insultingly stupid and just ridiculous and preposterous. The same Donald Trump who was hanging out with Al Sharpton and taking pictures with Hillary Clinton and mixing it up with all these power players, every rapper under the sun praising and lauding Donald Trump. Hocus pocus, he wins an election and threatens to the left, and now he's some KKK member. That's intellectually ridiculous.
What do you think about the fact that white supremacists support Trump?
I'm sick of this race and divide, and CNN is perfect at doing that. It's always divide and conquer. What the hell does that got to do with Donald Trump? He's not a racist. I'm sick of that. It's a scam, and I know it's not going to get on CNN.
Yes, there's weirdo racist dudes. There's no systemic racism. There's no laws keeping you from doing anything. The most legitimate claim I hear, there's a genuine issue, I think, with the way that the police interact with minority communities in America. But that even is a very multifaceted issue. Is there going to be a higher engagement with police in areas with higher crime? Yes. Yes. So that right there is not necessarily a racist reason that the police are interacting. Now, I do think that that needs to have some reform, and it is my humble opinion that that reform would be helped by real conversation, not weird political posturing to inflame race relations that sounds like it cares about these issues, but really it's just fostering them so that they can, monetize that in the political realm. No, not that. Real conversation, like actual conversation. You know what I mean? Like get a couple police officers together and, have them, speak their piece, get a couple people who were abused by the police and get the, really do some actual mixing it up, some actual intellectual curiosity. That would be the posturing and the behavior of people that truly cared about this issue and wanted to fix it. It wouldn't be scoring political points. It wouldn't be a bunch of gotcha games. It wouldn't be calling people racist that speak outside the orthodoxy lines. It would be getting in there and doing what anybody would do if you want people to have an understanding, if you want people to understand perspectives. But that can't happen because anybody who says anything that the leftist idea fears see as threatening, libeled, slandered, and everybody knows this. So let me tell you this. Here's the silver lining in this bleak conversation. For whatever you think of Kanye West, I don't know even what I think about Kanye West personally. I've always enjoyed Kanye West's music. I think the dude is an artistic genius. Even the way he's handling this, even the single he just put out. The guy just reads the tea leaves of like the populace, and there's just no denying that. Could he be a megalomaniac? I don't know. I mean, the dude he's a wild card. But he's fearless, and what you saw took courage, for sure. And to deny him that is just intellectual dishonesty. And let me tell you, it wasn't a pebble in a pond that you saw. It was a tidal wave that will have lasting impacts on the way people think. That is the truth. We are living in interesting times. Thanks for listening to Breakfast Club.
I know it's not going to get on CNN.